Welcome to Vandalia TV. This is our inaugural interview, so very first one, which is a pretty basic setup where I just put a whole bunch of cameras on your face and a microphone on your face because I think you have interesting things to say.
Thank you.
Let you say your interesting things. Let's just introduce, who are you?
So I'm Story Moosa. I'm a 2018 graduate of the Marshall University Theater Program, and since then I've moved to Long Island, New York, to pursue my master's in this thing we call acting.
Okay. So you've acted here in Marshall?
Yeah. So I was a big player in the Marshall program. Between my sophomore and senior year, I was pretty much involved in every show. It helped me build a great resume in 3-ish years of deciding to do this thing, and it gave me the ability to audition for grad programs and get into one, which was kind of my goal immediately out of school. So, I'm a year down and I got one more to go. So by this time next year, I'll be a mastered professional of acting, which means nothing.
Well, no, you have master in your name. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the cliche questions of what led you to acting.
Straight up jealousy.
Okay.
So, I was a not great ballet dancer in high school, and I kind of just got into that because I saw Black Swan, and I was like, one, I love Natalie Portman, and I want to love her forever. I came to Marshall really not knowing what I was going to do. I had even considered going to community college, which is not a joke. Community college is great. And being a stenographer and a library science major, because books. And my dad was like, stenographers make a lot of money. And I was like, oh my God, great money. And I just kind of rolled into the theater program as a production major. I really love historical costuming, that's a passion of mine, and just anything behind the scenes. And so I jumped into their production major and kind of realized halfway through, I was like, oh my God, all the kids are auditioning for stuff and they get to be on shows, and this is a real place, they do great shows. And I was like, I have to do it. So end of fall semester of my freshman year, I did a very bad audition for Cabaret and a play called Clybourne Park, and I didn't get anything, which was expected. So then I took the summer, and I was like, I guess I'm gonna do this thing, and so then I kind of had my career at Marshall, which was awesome. So
you took your summer. What was your preparation? Was it I'm going to get into this?
Not much. It was really just what plays are they doing? Okay, All Wilderness. Okay, who could I play in that? I could play the sister. That's it. That's gonna be my monologue for auditioning. That is gonna be it. They were doing Christmas Carol that year, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do a Can't Take It With You monologue, which was fine. And I kind of just did that. I was like, it became a survival technique. It was you have to do this if you want to do this, and basically
it's not an option. You have to commit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I have to do even now. I'm like, I hate auditioning. I'm not a good auditioner. I can't express myself in the ways that I want to, that I do in a real production or in a classroom setting. So basically I have to just jump in, and I have to say, if you don't do this, I'll kill you.
Okay.
And
wow.
You will.
That's high stakes.
Yeah. And it's if you don't do this, you'll be so ashamed of yourself. Don't even try and back out. And so that's what I had to do when I graduated, or when I did graduate school auditions. I was like, you're scared of this, but you have to do it, or else you don't know what you're doing with your life. So just do it, nerd.
You're very mean to yourself.
I'm very mean to myself, but that's the only way I can do it. Yeah.
So, this is one of the worst questions to ask somebody in their early 20s. What's your aspiration with film or acting?
So recently, I don't want to live in New York, and you can quote me on that, because one, climate change is real, and it's going to be underwater in about 30 years. Okay. So let's not do that. One, you can't live there. Two, I don't want to be miserable for a very small portion of my life so I can say that I did something. I'm living there for 2 years now, and in a year I've had all the experiences that are wonderful, and I've seen great shows, and I've seen a world that maybe you don't necessarily get if you're from West Virginia. But I'm ready just to go for another year, see more great shows, say that I did it, but then I can't do it. And I really think it's the Southerner in me. I was born here, but my parents are both from Louisiana.
Okay.
So I think that, and some people hate to acknowledge it, but I'm a Southerner. I enjoy talking to Southern people. They're nicer, they're more genuine, and whatever. So really my goal right now is to either be in this area of the country, so the Louisville, Columbus, kind of I don't know, this
Appalachia,
whatever. I would love to be in these kind of cities that are just burgeoning on people realizing that you have to make art in small places because or else it dies. Because if you let Broadway own everything, it's just Disney.
Yeah, well, that's what the basis of this entire site's about. Like, there's people here making things.
Yeah, don't fall into the con of that Broadway is anything.
That's the goal. That's what you have to get to.
No, it's not. It's commercialized, and it's wonderful because people get to experience theater in places they may have never, because it tours and it does all this stuff and you see it and you're like aspire to it, but it's not everything. And if I've learned anything from being away from home and being in a graduate program, it's that theater happens everywhere, regardless if you know it or not. And the best thing you can do as a artist is contribute to that, or move somewhere and contribute to that. So long story short, I would love to live in the New Orleans area. Just looking into it, they have a thriving community down there that's working with a lot of nonprofit work, and then just like solid good theater, like that's important. And really just the areas around there. I went to Catholic school growing up, so there's this place in my heart where I'm like, I would love to be like a Sound of Music style, like teaching like girls in an all-girl high school like how to be actors.
Okay. So your aspirations are to find that regional area that's not like, I'm going to go to the big place, I'm going to make the big, and not that there's anything wrong with that. You have like, you just want to make the art, and you want to find a place you can do it.
And I think that what we've realized in this age of YouTubers and influencers is that you can be special and you can be admired from afar, from anywhere, and you don't necessarily have to sacrifice your morals or whatever it is that you don't like about a place. You don't have to do it. You don't have to, I'm sorry, but you don't have to do the struggle in New York. You don't. Take your talents and put it into homegrown places that need it. I mean, there's a place in the middle of the Midwest that like pays its actors to be year round, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's like, it's a thriving regional theater in the middle of nowhere, and it's paying actors a living wage. Like, that's
awesome.
it. Yeah. That's it. Like, that's all you got to do. And what's the saddest thing, not the saddest thing about living in America right now, but one of the saddest things is that we don't have a national theater. We don't have any kind of theater that's subsidized by the government in the way that England has. And we need something like that in America, because right now we're kind of like Hollywood. And if they make a blockbuster, if they're rich, they must be good. And it's like, Tom Cruise is not good.
Okay.
Like, I hate to say it.
Wow. All right. You're taking shots at New York. Tom Cruise. We're tearing down the establishment.
Listen, it's my goal, because it's like, I'm tired of, I don't know, being an actor. And it's nice when old people are like, are we going to see you on a Broadway stage? I'm like, no.
You can see me here.
I
here.
hate to say it, but you're not, because I'm not in that rat race. I refuse to be in it. Wow. So,
that's awesome. Well, I mean, with the idea of sticking local, I think that's a perfect segue into what we're supposed to be talking about here today. So this is like a local film production. We just want to cover everybody making things in West Virginia.
Yeah.
So you've been in a couple different productions in West Virginia. So I think it'd be great to talk to you and get your unique perspective. I realize I have very expressive hands now. I'm going to put them down.
No, me too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's fine.
So how many different productions have you been with, film specifically?
Film specifically? Well, I would say four. Yeah. Question mark. I've mostly been theater. Like, that's what I'm getting all these degrees in. But short films are the new thing to be a part of, and commercials and commercial acting is a huge thing, and it's going to pay a lot of bills in the real world, especially if you want to stay in New York and big places. So I was involved with You All, which is Kosiri, last year for the 72-hour film festival.
Yeah, we've invited you back to do it again this year if you want to.
Apparently. And I did that last summer, and that was an amazing experience because it was just kind of fun, and it's kind of goes with my philosophy of having to just jump into things or I'm scared. I just have to say yes to things. And I'm
so sorry we made you eat a cigarette.
No, it was terrible. I think about it constantly. I tell everyone, I'm like, you think that's bad. I'm someone who doesn't eat vegetables or fruit, and I was forced to eat tobacco.
Not forced. You were forced. They gave you the option to eat tobacco, and you said yes. But yeah, I'm glad we're your production horror story.
Yeah, exactly. So that was last summer, and then this summer when I came back home for the summer break, I literally jumped in with a production that was out of New York that was here, involved with Clint McElroy. Is that a buzzword to say? Is he a buzz
locally,
name?
Yeah.
So Clint McElroy was involved in it. I don't know what it's called, but I was
Is it that sci-fi western?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you know it.
Yeah.
And so that was through Marshall people who live in New York currently, Montana Rock and Megan Martin.
Okay.
And they kind of brought it down here. They got Clint involved. It's really cool. I think it's much bigger than they were letting on just because of who's involved. And I was a PA on it and an extra. And it was really just because I was like, my friend Megan's there and she's doing cool things. And I was like, I'll be there literally the next day. So I would love to join. I'm always going to classify myself as an actor tech. And I take pride in that, is that acting is like my main thing, like don't get it twisted, but I can do things and I'm proud to stand behind the scenes if I have to. Like, it's not a big deal to me. And
I think regionally too, that's an important thing to know. And it's like you have to have a level of diversification here. I think if you want to be a part of things, and it's great. Like we talked about with larger cities, you can go and it's like, I'm just going to act.
Yeah,
you have those opportunities.
You have to.
But it's also cool to being here that it's like, I mean, I set up the cameras here and then I'm doing the interview. So it's like you have
and you know, being able to slog through things and just know that you're getting experience regardless of if you're not getting paid or whatever.
And knowing what you're asking of people whenever
Exactly.
to do something.
Yeah, and I knew it. I was like, oh, I'm an extra in PA. Cool. And that it rained. Cool. That happens a lot. And whatever. So that was just this summer. And then I got contacted by a friend of mine from school about a girl. Her name is Vanna Henry, and she's a student with the Visual Arts Center with Marshall. And she was tasked with making a short film about her life. I don't really know how she got into this, but it was really cool, and we just finished like about a month and a half of shooting on and off. I don't know how much I can say about it, but it's about Jehovah's Witnesses, which is pretty cool.
Fun fact, raised Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
Is it making fun of my notes?
No, I had to go door to door undercover, and it was the worst thing I've ever done. I've never been so
We'll talk about that more off camera.
Yeah.
I'm really curious.
But yeah, so that was really fun, and that was a chance to be with a friend of mine from college and to see like a two-person film set that was utilizing like both what they could build with their hands and what they like found spaces and just, you know, doing the damn thing and like finding a kid that wants to be an actor and really just doing it kind of cool. And I think it's going to be more of an art house piece now rather than just like a straight short film. Apparently there's going to be a premiere of it at Marshall. I don't know. Awesome. I'll talk to you off camera about this. Yeah. Most recently my friend, another friend from undergrad, put on her Facebook because she had just moved away that a local commercial making group called Motion Masters was needing an actress for a commercial. And I was like, once again, if you don't email it, you'll never know. And like, it's money. And so I reached out to them, and literally I thought it was going to be like a month away, and it was like the next day. And we made a commercial that is running now. It's me in a hospital gown, and it's about sexual assault during colonoscopies. Okay. Man, it fucking sucks.
That's heavy.
Yeah. So being a woman in 2019 really, really sucks. So that was the most recent thing I did. And then apparently I'm working with you soon, hopefully.
Yeah. We're going to make something fun and cool. Yeah. That I think more lighthearted than the commercial that you were in, I would hope. Yeah. It'll be funny, I hope.
My dad says I look very smiley for someone being in a hospital. And I'm like, yeah, that's before.
Yeah.
You know,
we'll have to run some B-roll of that commercial during this part of the interview. We'll have to know. Yeah. Just keeping in line with those roles, how do they come about?
It is networking and being open to anything, especially in a local community. I think that is the most important advice I could give is be open for anything, especially here, especially where so many people know each other. If you can just get yourself in the door and be willing to say, I'm available tomorrow, can we do this? That's the best way I've found that you're going to create a resume in film here. Because because some people don't know. I mean, some people don't realize they're going to be making a film that needs people tomorrow. It just depends on what's going on in the world and like budgets or whatever. I think being involved with anything Marshall Visual Arts Center, like you don't have to be a student obviously to be involved. Or Marshall Theater, like you can audition for any of the shows. You do not have to be a part of the program. Yeah, it's networking and who you know and looking at Facebook posts, looking at Instagram posts, because I know there's a local film called Wake Up Dorothy. Is that a thing that's happening? I feel like that was a big one in the spring that was like it's who you know, but also they're putting out calls on
they're
Instagram.
putting out calls all the time, and just having those filmmakers, and even there's a really good film community here. So where they put out calls, I've seen other filmmakers share it. I know there's a feature film shooting in Beckley now, and I just saw it because a friend of a friend of a friend shared it.
And being close to a university is great, and I think that's really your first step, and then align yourself with local places and local people who are maybe have done it in the past. I don't know. Just become friends with people.
Mm-hmm. I know with doing stand-up, and I imagine this is definitely true with us doing film, part of the job is being a good hang, and it's like just being pleasant to be around and knowing the right people, meeting the right people, and being nice whenever you do. Mm-hmm. It does, that's the people who's going to ask you to do something later on. Yeah,
and if you can become friends with them, even better, because then they'll want you around for other things, and it's not going to be an issue of auditioning or like, oh, we'll have to see. It's like, hey, you are my friend. Would you like to be in this because you've done it before, or I think you're really good, or whatever. So, yeah.
And it just builds, you're the part of that creative community.
Exactly.
You're an addition to that, because I think a lot of times it seems like filmmakers have issues trying to find actors. I definitely know that. I've known people who's like, I just don't know who to get in my stuff. And they're using a lot of, and I hate the term non-actors, but they're using people who don't normally have that experience, and which is cool and great, and a challenge in itself. But finding somebody who's like, I like to act, I know the tools to do it, and I'm excited to just focus on that role. Yeah, and I think that the main issue with a lot of theater people is that their schedules are pretty booked, especially Marshall. Once you get rolling, and if you're involved in all productions, you're kind of gone. But people will make time for you. I feel like time is such a huge commodity, and to me, I mean, it's my time. Can you talk about the varying levels of production? Because I imagine going from a 72-hour film festival to a commercial for a hospital,
very different. So, and it always is going to change how involved you are. With the commercial, I was told that the shooting hours were between 10 and 3, and I was like, okay, I can do that. It's fine. But then I was there for 45 minutes.
Okay.
So. And that is a lot with film, is do we get the shot, and do we want to do it again and again and again? And that's across all boards, is making sure you have backups to things and make sure that you've used the person as much as you wanted. Because once you let them go, they've committed to one day, not 3 days. So that's a difference. With this commercial specifically, it was I believe, an older company that's done it before, so it was very much here's your dressing gown, please sit in that wheelchair, and we're going to direct you as we go. With 72-hour film fest or anything that's more of a project, I feel there's a little more of a back and forth between the directors and the camera people and the actor, and it's a little bit more of we're all putting our time into this, so we're all going to make a thing together. And then once again, it's when I was in yours last year, I was only used for a day, really.
Yeah, I think we shot for an hour.
So.
Yeah.
So it really changes, but it was much more casual. It was much more we're going to allot so much time. We have this much time in the space. So that changes. And then also knowing it was only 72 hours, I was I only need 3 days to assume that I can't change my hair or what, you know. And then with the other film that I did with the people through the VAC, that was really more of you're being paid, so we're going to do this as long as we need to, and and I really had to be my own manager, which is fine. And it's a college project, so I'm not expecting someone to stage manager me, but it was really about hey, our time is precious. you have time and a space that I know you need. So here are my dates for this week. Here are this. So it really becomes about self-organizing and being make sure that you ask if they've gotten all the things, because I read in the script that I'm supposed to do this. Do we need to get that today, or is that tomorrow? With a commercial, it's much more they know exactly what they're doing. It's 30 seconds. They have it storyboarded. They're done.
Because they have money involved in it, too. We got in and get out.
Oh, yeah. They got the firm or the doctor or whoever's paying for it is hey, I only paid you for a day. Okay. So, yeah, it's just knowing what's going on and then being aware of, don't act like a jerk at, a fun film set. Don't be the jerk that's I'm a professional. It's once again, be a good person.
From an acting perspective specifically, I imagine, especially working on stuff around here, whenever you worked with us, we're not actors. We just like to make things.
Sure.
Do you have any advice for other actors dealing with, and again, I said earlier, I hate the term non-actors.
Non-actor.
But do you have any advice of doing something who doesn't have like the background?
Yeah. So listening is like the number one rule. I mean, that's acting. Acting is listening to other people and like knowing how to be a real person. Because actors sometimes forget that like your character is a real person and they listen to things and they don't like prepare their faces. But honestly, non-actors or people who are not necessarily actors by trade, they're much more, they might be a little slow and cold like they might be a little like frozen at first because it might be their first time or it might be a new situation that they don't know how to react with, but be willing to like read lines or just talk. And like usually it's just an issue of being uncomfortable with a setting and like new people. It's like the first day on the job or whatever. But also don't shut them out, because I feel like that is such a pretentious thing that people do in all aspects of life. But sometimes with actors and non-actors, there's this idea of like, well, I trained for this, so like, what are you doing here? So like, know your environment. I mean, if you're in West Virginia doing a short film and you know every actor that could be involved in it, and there's a bunch of other people, that's most likely people that are not necessarily actors by trade. So be respectful. They're not stupid and they're not bad.
They're doing a very hard thing.
They're doing a very hard thing.
Be a convincing person, or sometimes a caricature that
exactly.
It's like. Advice for directors. Especially locally. Locally,
communicate, because sometimes it feels like you'll sign on to a project or you'll get involved and then never hear for like weeks. And you're like, I just want to get you my schedule. Like, I don't know, like, what's up. So communicate. Don't leave people on read. Don't ignore people just because something has fallen through. Or like, be real with the people you're working with, because that's going to make everyone feel much more comfortable because there's nothing to hide. I think having a good schedule of what's going to happen, because people, like I said, time is a commodity. People get a little nervous when they're like, we aren't finishing this today. We haven't done this. We need to do this. Like, I'm reading my script and we have a whole page that we haven't filmed. Have people that are checking your schedule to make sure you're not double booking or you're forgetting something, because if you're the only person running the project, you will do that. Like, you're going to forget to do things, or you'll read it and think that you did. So communication, calendars, schedules, and really trying to meet with people beforehand and not just having the first day of a shoot be the first day you've ever talked about this project, especially with a group. And then if you have lead actors, like, you have to have that, like, what's my motivation? You do have to have it, because film is so different, where there is a director that is looking for a certain thing, and maybe there's going to be an improv moment somewhere in there, but like, you got to communicate it, because it's time, and time is money, and you got to get something done, versus what you do in theater, where you kind of have weeks of rehearsal to kind of figure out like what you're going to do, or if you're searching for something that you haven't found yet, you haven't locked down the right idea. There's a lot more wiggle room with theater acting and theater directing, because it is like, hey, we got 4 weeks, let's just say we're going to do this here and we're going to move on, because it's difficult and we don't need to get it on film, and it'll happen. But yeah, and then always be looking for ways, I don't know, to make someone feel special. That's very like trophy thing, but like, acknowledge the people that are doing the thing with you, because they are going to, it's all networking. Like, they're going to talk about you and they're going to relay you to people, and you don't want to be that person that's like, they had no idea what they were doing. Nothing was set up when we got there. Like, just,
I think, to that, there's always a little bit of a fear whenever something starts to go wrong, and you're like, oh no, this person who I brought in here is going to see this mess up. But I think, like, problem solving is filmmaking.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be the person who's like, thanks for coming. We'll need you like an hour. Go sit in that corner over there and don't really interact.
Exactly.
I imagine that happens from time to time.
Yeah, and it happens in theater acting too, where you're just like, oh, hello, like, are you the person I'm spending 4 weeks with? But, put on your big person pants and acknowledge that people also, people are going to have bad days. And I think that goes for actors, directors, techs. Yeah. There are going to be bad days. There are going to be days when nothing goes right. There are going to be days when you have, you haven't paid the meter, or like someone's not getting paid that day for something they need. and just understand that, take it in, accept it, and then try and remain professional and like keep your temper. And yeah.
I'm always really bad. I think that Kosiri doesn't make anything unless we make it under duress. It's like, oh, we have to throw a project together or we will never make something.
I mean,
I think for filmmakers like that, you kind of have to recognize that the burden is on you at that point.
Yeah.
That you have to go and be, because like I've seen situations where people have started to make something and it's like it's other people's responsibility, and it's my poor planning skills that have put you in this situation. I say that as Alex. I called her like a half an hour before this. She knows, she's used to it.
But yeah,
there's always a give and take with that. I've found with directing, and you may be able to tell me if this is good advice or bad advice, because I've done this. Especially, we have a very short turnaround for film sprints usually, and it's like we need a character. So I think we started writing more characters than like nuanced characters for those, and giving people very emblematic, like this person is this character you've seen before mixed with this character you've seen before. That way you don't have to deconstruct. Does that help?
Yeah, no, I always love a like an example given. I think the only danger you get in is that people, if you give them time, they will look up things, and it's the worst thing you could ever do is watch someone do a thing that you're trying to do, because it's like, I will never be Maggie Smith, but you're telling me to act like her, so like, why don't I watch Downton Abbey? So I think accepting that, explaining it to someone in a very concentrated way, and then having a discussion, and then being like, but they're also like this, and there's also this to it, and also there's the beauty of a given circumstance, which is a whole big thing that actors talk about a lot. But it helps. I mean, where's your person coming from? What happened 10 minutes ago? What happened the scene before? Who are what are the relationships of every character in the room to you and yours to them? Where are you right now? Like, are you in a building? Like, are you scared? And that all that information helps break down, because it's.
So do you like whenever directors give you more? Is it like all up front? Is that what you want?
I love being told, like, here's what just happened. They just walked, especially if you're not doing, like with a play, you can read it. I can be like, I know what happened just before. It tells me. But if it's a film, especially like just an art piece or something that like the director is really looking for a certain moment, the best you can give is really, to me, is like, hey, this just happened. You hate her, you hate him, you're in love with him, and they're all coming to confront you, blah, 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 and you're in this house that you've never been in before. Like that helps you get a little more gritty into it.
Yeah, for the film sprint stuff, I think we sort of realized doing that just because it gives somebody a touchstone, and then it's like, okay, we navigate in that space, and that way you're kind of bouncing between. For our longer things, we have started doing character bios, which is like, and it feels weird that it's like, oh, we're writing these things that you're never going to see,
so fun,
but it's just like, it gives you like this information that
characters don't exist in a vacuum. If you're writing a group of people that are supposed to be friends, like, you should know, your actor should know, like, what the other friends are like, or why,
this thing that happened 5 years ago that you'll never see, that maybe would inform why this person's treating them that way.
Yeah, because I mean, it's fun. It's a part of this storytelling thing that we all enjoy, is like, what's that character like? Like, are they like me? Can I link in? So having more is always good, but also not stepping on people's toes and being like, you have to do it this way, unless it's a very, like, walk down a hallway. Like, don't, you know how to walk down a hallway, or but it's different. People are different, because there's some people that are going to want you to do it as written, like, don't or ah, and there's some that are like, just have fun.
Yeah.
Be cool.
I think, we've started to learn that not even scripts sometimes, like, for non-actors, throw people off because they're like, that's too rigid. So we're just like, we just start pitching lines at people and just like, say it 5 different ways and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
As far as the back end goes, I feel like there's the cliche question of what's the difference between acting on stage and acting in film, which I know it's like the broad gesture. I think I've heard Sir Ian McKellen tell that like 10 times. But as far as the back end, like the preparation that goes into it, can you talk a little bit about that?
For me, I feel like film is very much, you're going to get a lot of chances to do a lot of things. Hopefully you have a lot of takes to do things in. But you can, for me, if I'm walking on a set and I know that we're only doing one scene, I would prefer to just prepare for that one scene. Because especially if it's not a long, like, it's not a long 2-hour movie that I need to like track this person through it. But I feel like if you go into it on a day-to-day basis, a scene-to-scene basis, my prep is a lot more, like, much more beforehand. But in in regards to the larger thing, like this film that I just did about Jehovah's Witnesses, I did a lot of research because I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know how to, in my head, I can't make sense of that. So I really just need, even if it doesn't come out in the character or it's necessarily addressed, like, it's better for me to understand it from more of like a booky way and being like, here's all the research I did, than it is just to be like, hey, like, should I be weird here? Because, there's a lot of assumptions you can make about characters you'll portray, but you're always your characters on your character's side. If you're able to get a script beforehand, I feel like understanding pacing and understanding how scenes are broken up, because there's some films that are not going to be linear in time. It's going to be a lot of like snapshots happening. So I feel like understanding if you can trace a line through that, that's also great for prep, because like, why am I acting excited in this scene when someone just died, technically, if you're looking at the linear. So figure that out, map it out for yourself. If I can get the script in my head as fast as possible. For me, being not off book is like hell. It's like purgatory, because it sucks to not know what you're doing next. And so really, that, if I can give advice to anyone, get off book as fast as you can. Who cares if the stage manager and the director say that you have 2 months to get off book? Be off book. You'll feel great about it. Like, it's so much easier in your head, because then you can actually act for rehearsal and not stand there with a book being like, shit, I don't know where we were, Yeah, so prep, get in your body, and then have fun in rehearsals, and be willing to see rehearsals as rehearsals, and don't beat yourself up because it's annoying for everyone.
Do you have any advice, any information you want to give people who are interested in acting, specifically maybe for film in the area, things that they need to know, things that they need to keep in mind?
Be open for anything. And that goes with any kind of job that's going to help you support this passion of yours. And I think the worst thing that people do, and it sucks that you can't just make a career out of doing short films in the middle of West Virginia. I wish it was. Like, if I have all the money in the world, that's what I'd do. But understand that you define what it is to be an artist. Don't let grandma or mom or dad tell you what it is that you're doing. And, if you have to have, and you probably do, you have to have that job at Starbucks or wherever that gets you money. Like, don't make it a thing about, if I'm not acting, then what am I doing with my time? Because that's such a jerky thing to say. And thankfully, I've never run into anyone in this area that's like, I only can act. But understand that a lot of things ebb and flow. Need for actors in short films ebbs and flows like everything. So don't put all your chicken or eggs into one basket, and be willing to just take risks and meet new people. And that's the only way that this stuff gets done, is by human connection. So, meet the people that are at the heart of this. And I see it now, like, I, as a Huntingtonian that has gone through Marshall, has lived away and has come back, and I see the group of people that is assembling themselves and doing like open mic nights and being involved in all these short films and being, if they're made through Marshall, like, if you understand that, then you understand how to get in.
So before we wrap out of here, for you, Story, what's something that you're excited that's coming up?
Seeing this Jehovah's Witness movie, because I don't know what
Where's it going to be?
It's through Visual Arts Center, and then I've heard that it's going to be shown in the experimental theater at Marshall Theater. So it's like, wow, and I won't be here for it. So it's like,
do you have a date?
It's going to be September.
Okay.
It's going to be, it was supposed to be in August, and I was like, yes, I get to see it. And
festival afterwards, online afterwards? You have no idea? Okay.
I think I'm hoping online, because that's how I'll see it, but I'm also been told I'll be like Skyped in on a laptop and just like brought around like a floating head. So who knows? So I'm excited to see that, because I have questions about my performance in it. And then I'm excited about grad school and finishing it up and doing hopefully a cool thesis and cool scenes, and enjoying hopefully my last year of school ever, which is strange. And, I'm looking forward to seeing cool shows and enjoying New York for the last year that I'm going to live in it for. But yeah, and hopefully working with you soon, and just, I don't know, seeing where this crazy world brings us.
All right, well, we're excited for you to be back after you we're excited to have you this weekend.
Yeah.
We're going to film the 72 hours. We'll have stuff for you whenever you're back. We'll be here.
Yes, very
awesome.
excited.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for watching. Thank you to Alex Runyon for producing for me today. And we'll have more of these at some point, I'm sure. I hope. Jesus, I hope. Thank you, Story.
You're welcome. Thank you.